Hey folks, welcome back inside my shop. As you can tell under the bright lights, going to do a bit of blade sharpening and setting here today. You might have seen me unbox this on a previous video, this sharpener I got from Clarke Sawmill. Now I'm going to get this thing up in operation here today. That's going to be a first for the channel. Now this sharpener, it looks like quite the setup. It's pretty well solid steel. It's driven by the 1/2 horsepower motor on the back here. And aside from that, there's some common things you see on other sharpeners, like a profile cam, and there's a bunch of other things you probably haven't seen on other sharpeners, and that's why we're going to put it into action today. You might get a glimpse at why I really like it. It's certainly heavy duty. It's going to outlast me, I'm quite certain of that, and well, it sharpens blades really well, so that's exactly why I have it here today. As I mentioned, I got this from Clarke Sawmill, the same place I got my sawmill from. And well, it's been doing a great job for me. Now, sort of hand in hand with the sharpener is a setter. And this isn't an ordinary setter. This is a heavy duty unit just like that. This is a dual tooth setter. And if you watch, this is going to clamp down with the turn of the handle here. And it's going to set the teeth in both directions at the same time. And so if you watch the pusher here and watch the pusher there, as well as the advancing arm, as I rotate things, there's the clamping force, there's the setting force in both directions. So this is what I used to set blades with, and that's what I used to sharpen blades with, and that's exactly what we're going to do today, as I mentioned. I'm glad you're here to join me. Here we go. Okay, so first thing I do after I get it on here is I look for the weld, and I see it over there. You'll notice this blade's got a bit of surface rust, and truthfully it's not a big deal. First time I run it through a log, it comes off. If it's real bad, I'll give it a little scuff to take it off beforehand, before I set and sharpen. And there's the weld right there. See right there? I'll make a mark just so I can see it as it's going around here. And you might be able to see right here, this is 1 inch tooth spacing on this blade. So from one tooth to the next is 1 inch. However, if you were to look where it's welded, this actually, based on my eye, looks a little bit more than 1 inch. And so that's why I always start at the weld. Because if I don't start at the weld, when I get to it, the advancing arm here will probably not push it as far, or certainly not the same as I have it set up for the other teeth. And therefore, if I'm not paying attention when I'm rotating this, it won't push on the tooth where it needs to. So I'll start on the tooth just after the weld, at least to the right of the weld. And what I'm going to do first and foremost, before I start setting, I'm going to look for a tooth that's straight up and down. And so I've got it set right here. See that tooth that's straight up and down there? And the reason I have it set there is I just want to verify that the dial indicator is showing 0 when pressure is applied, because it should with the straight tooth. And then I'll do the same for this one. So there it is there. And I'll just rotate the handle. So watch it here. Alright, so we've applied pressure by clamping that tooth, and notice the dial indicator is 0, so we're good to go with that dial. And I'll just back off on the clamping force, and then I'll move that same tooth back to this one, line it up, and when those two clamp, we should get 0 on this dial as well. And so let's see here. There's pressure applied. And we're real close, we're just off a little. And so we can just loosen that off just a touch. And just 0 it there. There we go. So now we're in business. Alright, so that weld is right there. So we're going to start on that tooth. That tooth, if I look down, bends that way. This one bends this way. And so it should go right there. So I'm going to leave the pusher up. It's clamped, and watch the pressure being applied. Okay, and I'm reading the dial indicator. And let's just make sure it's the same on this side. And that's exactly what I expect. Okay. Now this should advance at 3 teeth, which it does. So that's bending that way, that's bending that way, and we should get the same measurement on the dial indicators there. Looks good. Okay. Advance 3. Good. And so as you can see, you can go as slow or as fast as you want. And I'm just looking for consistency with the set. And I'd rather be accurate than fast here. This blade was cutting good when I took it off, so I expect the teeth are set well. However, generally speaking, I'll run it through here because it doesn't take very much time. I'm pretty comfortable here. I'll speed it up a bit. And I'm just watching the dials to make sure that the measurements that I'm getting are where I want them to be. And just before we get this next one going, one thing I will mention here is I can turn this dial. Let me see here. Sorry, I can turn this black part with my finger. And so I can put it approximately where the measurement or where the reading should be. And that way what I can do is I can just very quickly watch that the mark is being hit here. So watch one more time. So I can move it back just a little. Okay, just gives you a quick reference. And that way you'll know if things are off from tooth to tooth by quickly looking at it. I'm getting a bit of debris in there, so. Alright, we're about halfway. I'll just speed up here. So as you can see, it's pretty foolproof, and I think I'm getting close to the weld. Just a few more here. And here comes the weld. And see right there how things aren't lining up? That's almost a good indicator that you've hit the weld. What happens is it doesn't quite get pushed as far as it needs to. See, that tooth should have been here, and that's because of the wider distance where the weld is. That's why I always start on the right of it. Anyways, let's just back that off. And that's a blade that I've checked the set on. Now, this is highly adjustable as well. And we'll just back it up here a little. So if I wanted more set, I wanted the tooth to bend further, I have the option of doing that down here. If I tighten this knob, that'll push this pusher further when I rotate. Likewise on the other side, if I tighten this one, that'll push this pusher further, which will bend that tooth further. And so I have that option here as well. You can also adjust up and down. So this is a 2-inch blade. You can set 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inch, all the way up to a 3-inch blade. And more or less what will happen right down here, these will go up or down based on the width of your blade. You can also adjust over here tooth spacing. So I'm at a 1-inch tooth spacing. You can go down or up depending on what that is. So there's the sharpener. I've got the blade on it we just set. Now this is a real heavy unit. Everything's steel on it. The only thing that's electronic is this, the 1/2 horsepower motor. That motor I plug into the wall. The power is transferred down to another series of pulleys, one of which turns this grinding disc, and then the others will go ahead and forward the blade. Now this grinding disc is a ruby grinding disc. You can get others with it if you decide. Now this particular sharpener also has an option where you get a CBN wheel and an oil bath system. And that allows for the entire tooth profile to be sharpened at once. So this is nice, and one of the reasons I like it is I can start off with this style of sharpener or sharpening disc. And if I decide to upgrade, I decide to go to the CBN wheel, I can get the oil bath system added onto it after the fact. And so that's a good thing for me. For now though, saved a few bucks, got the ruby wheel on it. Now, as I said before, it's mostly all steel. There are some bearings on it. And then there's obviously the profile cam. So this dictates how that blade will get sharpened. Different blades will have different tooth profiles and require different profile cams. So this can be switched in and out with different ones that it came with. Now I said before, the power comes off that motor. You see it comes down here, and it gets transferred over here. And you'll notice right now this is loose. And so what we have on this side is more or less an engagement. You see as I raise that, it tightens that belt. Well, what that's going to do is that's going to tighten so that the blade can then start to be advanced forward. When I drop that down, this will still spin, but the blade will not advance. This pusher will not advance. Now, over here, you see this orange belt. This orange belt can be moved in order to speed up or slow down the advancement. I can go fast, medium, or slow. I start off slow until I get the hang of it. And in order to change that, nothing electronic here, I just have to change the gear ratio. Move that belt down or move it up on both sides there. Now, some other things you'll notice here. You might be able to see the number there, you might not, but there's a series of numbers here. These represent tooth spacing. This is a 1-inch tooth spacing, and so I have it set to that. If I change it up, I loosen that off, and I raise it or lower it depending on what I'm sharpening. Now this blade, it's going to ride on these bearings here, and this right here, which is spring-loaded, is applying pressure so that the blade is not going to move. It can't turn left or right. It can't flex. Now, these bearings here can be raised or lowered to raise the blade or lower it depending on the thickness of the blade, or shall I say width. This is a 2-inch blade. You can sharpen standard 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, 2-inch blades. You can go right down to 3-inch by moving these bearings on both sides up or down. In terms of adjustment, if I want to adjust how far this pushing arm pushes the blade, I can do that with this lever here. Now I currently have it set up for my blade, and one good thing about sharpeners and setters like this, once you get used to a certain blade and you use those blades over and over, you set this up once and you don't really touch it. You know it's sharpening it good, and so there might just be some minor refinements, but you can do all that right here. You can see how it's attached. and that will dictate how far or how far the blade will move forward for the next pass, the next sharpen. Now we'll just put this up here. We also have adjustment here, and so this is going to dictate how far down into the gullet that grinding disc goes. So you can tighten it to raise it, you can loosen it to have it go deeper. And that's more or less the adjustments. And as you'll see in a minute, these bearings here, they ride on that profile cam. If I were to raise that up, I can turn it on now, and you can see this rotate, and you can see the forwarding arm pushing the blade, and we can also see the different speeds. All right, so obviously the grinding disc is turning. Now I'm going to engage this belt or tighten that belt, and you'll start to see the blade push forward. Now keep in mind when we're sharpening, this would be up. All right, so that is medium speed. You can see and you can imagine this would be down, and this would be riding on that profile cam, going up and down, doing the sharpening. Okay, and if you want to stop for whatever reason, that stops the advancement. Or you can engage it again. And you can see the blade passing around here. Gives you a good idea how fast it's going. So that's medium. Switch is just back here. I'm turning on and off. Let's go ahead and put it on slow. And so what we're going to do for slow, just so you know what I'm referring to, see the speed rate, the feed rates, slow, medium, and fast. So we're on medium in the middle. So if you want it slow, and I'm doing this one-handed here. So if you want it slow, you just move that up like so. We'll move this down to the other one. There we go. We'll turn it on again and you'll see things moving slower, obviously. Okay, we'll engage it. There we go. All right, so pretty simple system. Turn it off again. We already saw medium. Let's go to fast, shall we? And so we'll just drop this down. Bring that up. There we go. Okay. Here we go. And we'll engage it. All right, that's cooking. So the other thing I forgot to mention, you'll notice the head angle's tilted. So I have it tilted to 10 degrees. You can tilt that to whatever angle you want. On the back, there's a few presets. More or less, you loosen off that bolt in the middle. And then on both sides, you can tighten or loosen these. And that will hold the head angle where you need it to be. Now with the Ruby wheel, I've already profiled it. You might notice there's a bit of a curvature to it. So I've done that already. This particular sharpener comes with a little tool to do that. But that's basically it. So I think the next thing to do is to actually sharpen. All right, let's sharpen this. You can see I've already marked where the weld is on the setting. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this all the way forward until it's right in the middle of these bearings here. And I'm just pushing down on this. Keep in mind it's applying pressure. So there we are. Now instead of guessing and trying to align the grinding wheel with the tooth, because let's face it, I probably won't get it right and it'll take too much or it'll miss the tooth completely, what I'll do is I'll actually drop this down and then I'll push the blade, so I'm applying pressure there, push the blade so it's firmly against the pusher there, and then I can come down once that tooth passes, keeping in mind it would be on. I can put that blade down once it passes and it'll start sharpening the first tooth after the weld. All right, so turn it on here. And this will be where I make fine adjustments if necessary. It looks pretty good to me. And if I want to adjust the push, that would be this one here. If I want to adjust the height, that would be this one here. And so I'm just going to use the settings I've got here. Very first sharpening of this blade, I'm just touching the toothpaste. Alright, let's stop that for now. And we'll bump it up to a medium. So I, generally speaking, the first sharpen in particular, I'll go on slow until I'm confident the settings are right. And then it's simple as this to go faster. So there's medium. And if you're feeling lucky, you can turn it up to a fast. I generally don't use fast, to be honest. And away we go. Well, there we have it, folks. That's a blade fully set, fully sharpened, ready to go back on the sawmill to cut more lumber. Now, this is my new setup here. Everything you see here I did get from Clarke Sawmill along with the blade I was using there. Now, 2-inch blade, inch spacing on the teeth, 18 foot 7 inch. It's a big blade. Now, the sharpener and the setter, one of the reasons I went this route is it's robust. It's heavy built. It's solid steel. It's made of bearings, bolts, pulleys, and belts. If something goes wrong on it, I can repair it. I don't like downtime. I don't like having to search around for a specific part that I can only get in one place. I like something I can fix. I can fix these. This is completely mechanical. There's no electronics on it. That right there, all it has is a electric motor. Everything else is something that I can deal with, and that's one of the reasons it's here. Because of the weight of these things, nothing's vibrating, nothing's moving. In fact, I can barely lift this thing to move it. That's one of the reasons I like it. If you haven't noticed already, I like heavy built things. Look at my sawmill. If you have any questions about my setter here, the dual tooth setter or the sharpener, be sure to put it down below. Now, as time goes on, I'll probably get better at using this thing. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still taking it slow. But that's probably true with any equipment. Start off slow, get good at it. You get faster as you become smoother. So, one last look there. Get a good look. You'll see lots of this on the channel in the future, because if anyone is like me and you saw as much as I do, well, sharpening and setting kind of goes hand in hand. If you like this video, be sure to give it the old like-a-roo, as I say. Make sure you subscribe, and hopefully I see you next time.